Namaste. Hello, everyone. We are back to talk today about one very important subject in Ayurveda. And Jyotish is not so quite a big mountain. But the point is that in Ayurveda, usually in the West, people give a lot of importance to the subject of Prakritti. This means your basic, fundamental, natal constitution. In Jyotish, we have the natal chart. Usually, it's done by the moment of birth. We have 4 types of birth, and 4 types of timings of birth. The time that the ring of the head goes out of the vagina. We have the time where the baby goes out of the womb and completely out of the mother's body. We have the time related to the moment where it takes the first breath and the time where the umbilical cord is cut off. So this is a very important subject concerning what is the natal chart of the person. Usually this will not make huge difference in the natal chart. It will make a lot of difference in higher dimensional divisional charts, like the 60, that it's an important dimension to look for previous lives, to give final refinement for Navamsha, whatever. But the point is that we are not going very deep on this subject now. We are going to see, because I work mainly as Ayurvedic therapist and I also do Jyotish counseling, but I have a lot of practice having some assessment about one's fundamental nature. But just for quick turmoil here, the main point of Ayurveda, it's not to bring you back to your Prakritti. It's to make you once again in a sama, in a harmonious state of functioning. We are having classes this week, last week, with my Indian teacher, Sanjay Pisharodi. And there was this question from him. Should we bring the person to the Prakritti? Is it Prakritti always a healthy state? And usually the answer was yes. But from the Jyotish perspective, the Prakritti doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy, you have a healthy Prakritti. And when you look to a chart, you can say, okay, this is not a very healthy chart. And in a way, we can extend this concept of fundamental nature of Ayurveda, of Prakritti in Ayurveda, to the natal chart. Even though in Ayurveda, the Prakritti is not determined by the moment of birth. It's determined by the moment of biological conception, where the sperm gets into the ovum. That moment, that sperm and that ovum will make the Prakritti of the person, and also the energetics that it's acting during this exact moment. All after that will make some changes in this functioning. We'll make some vikruti, we'll make some, I will not say disturbance now, I will only say changes. But this fundamental nature of Prakriti will never change, according to what I'm studying with my teacher, Sanjay Pisharodi. He wrote a book on Ashtanga Hridaya recently, the first part on chapter 1 to 4 of Sutrasthana. And it's available on Amazon if you wish to take a look on it. But let's go back again to the concept of Prakriti as we usually say of Prakritti relating to Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and Kapha, from Ayurveda to Jyotish, this transposition. In Jyotish, we have different kind of dosha. We have Kuja dosha, we have Rahu dosha, but we don't have necessarily Vata and Pitta and Kapha dosha. So it's important to understand that this word dosha means a thing that is not working very healthily. Okay? I'm not saying that Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are dosha, this is another subject, but they can spoil the body, and when they are spoiling the body, they are acting as doshas. We can translate the word dosha to English as spoil, spoiler, spoiling, depending on the context. So, there is no such a thing as a strict indication on classical texts about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha Prakritti, and some Lagna and some this kind of stuff. But there are some indications, and from these indications from Brihat Parashara and whatever other tests, we are going to make some general overview that when you're talking with the person, you can also have a look on the person's chart and have some extra information. But I'm not so sure that you should only from the chart say that this person is this Prakriti or whatever. Because usually you are not going to be able to see the Prakriti of the person. The Prakriti is just one gravitational force that is going to be pushing or pulling, doesn't matter, making some movement towards one gravity center. But it's not going to be what the person is appearing in front of you, and not necessarily what the person should be appearing in the front of you, because maybe the person's Prakriti is sick or it's not so healthy. But let's move on. All the Agni Tattva Rashis, all of Mesha, Simha, and Danu Rashis, Sidereal Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Lagna, Udaya Lagna, ascendant, will tend to create more Pitta Prakruti people somehow. These three rashis, there is going to be differentiation between if it's movable, if it's dual, or if it's fixed. This we are going to see just in a second. All the watery Jala Tattva rashis will tend to create Kapha Prakruti people. Karka Rashi, Vrishika Rashi, and Meena Rashi in the Udaya Lagna, the ascendant. All people with Vayu Tattva Rashi, this means Mituna, Tula, and Kumbha, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius Sidereal, will tend to create Vata Prakriti people. And Prithvi Tattva Rashis, Vrishabha, Kanya, and Makara will tend to create for Vrishabha, Taurus, Sidereal Taurus, Kapha, Kanya, Sidereal Virgo, Vata, and Makara, Sidereal Capricorn, Pitta. Because, and then we'll go back. Because Vrishabha, Taurus, is fixed. And always when there is Stira, Rashi, these will tend to be Kapha. Kanya is Duodisha. I still don't remember that name. I have some problem with it. But Dua is 2. I think it's Duodisha. Duodisha, maybe. This is more prone to create Vata or Pitta. And Makara is Chala, and this will create Pitta in this sense. But the Chala aspect can create Vata and Pitta. And Makara Rashi is the place where Kuja, Mars, gets Ucha, gets supreme, gets exalted. It's a very fiery place. But in Kanya, there is no much of fire element there. It works more with creativity. It's related more to kind of a feminine Buddha, Mercury. There is a lord of it. It's more introspective. But this is just one classification that usually works. We are going to have some further considerations soon. So in the Agni Rashis, Agni Tattva Rashis, the Mesha, that it's movable, will tend to add some Pitta or Vata characteristics, depending where it's going to go Kuja, the Lord of the Rashi. This is another consideration, the third step that we are going. The first step is about the nature of the Rashis. The second step in concerning the Tattvas, the Panchamahabhuta. Then we consider the aspect of the nature concerning the Stira, Chala, or Dvesha, changeable characteristics. Then we consider where the Lord of the Rashi, of the ascendant, goes. Then we consider the aspect that goes there to the Lagna and also to the 5th house, where I consider to be the Jataragni. Even though the digestive system goes through the 4th house up to the 6th, 7th house. But the original place of Leo, it's the 5th house. And it's the main Agni, and it's related to the sun. So for me, it makes more sense to consider the 5th house as the place of Jataragni. And Kanya, Virgo, as a place where there is a lot of splitting and going and coming, but there's not so much burning in the sense, the first sense where it takes in Leo. So going on. In Agni Tattva Rashis, we have Mesha being Pitta or Pitta Vata. We have Leo being Pitta or Pitta Kapha, Simha, because Simha is Stira. We have Danu being Pitta or Pitta, like Danu can be a lot of things. And in the Rashis that are dual, the first part is considered Stira, and the second part is considered Chala. So it's a little bit complicated to say about Danu. Danu can be almost everything. But usually, since it's governed by Jupiter, there's going to be some Kapha going there. Because the nature of the Lord is important. The nature of Mesha is Pitta, Lord of Mesha, Kuja. The nature of the Lord of Simha, Surya, it's Pitta, but the nature of the Lord of Danu is Kapha Pitta, Guru, Jupiter. Now we go to the Rashis of the watery Rashis. Karka, it's governed by the moon. And Karka Rashi will tend to create some Kapha Vata constitution, because Kapha Vata is the nature of the moon. And the Kapha is Karka, and it's Chala, it's Vata. So usually there is going to be a Kapha Vata constitution somehow there. In Vrishika, there is going to be Kapha Pitta, because Vrishika is governed by Mars, that it's more fiery element, and it's Stira. But in this case, the nature of Kuja, it's very fiery. And Kumbha usually will create Kapha Vata constitution in a little bit different way from Karka, because Karka, there is more Kapha there because of the nutritional. Oh, sorry. It's not Kumbha, it's Mina. Mina will create Kapha, because it's going to be watery plus Guru, and this will create more watery element there. It was a little bit strange, but the WhatsApp just appeared in the middle of the transmission, so I'm going to close in a sense that the Vata doesn't go crazy. And now we go to the Vayu Rashis. The Vayu Rashis will create Vata Prakritti, but Gemini, Mithuna, it's ruled by Buddha. And in this sense, Buddha in a masculine form. And maybe there is going to be some Pitta there. Maybe there is going to be some Vata there. Maybe there is going to be some Kapha there, depending much where Buddha goes. Because Buddha is kind of tridoshic, so it's the most difficult of them to have a proper assessment. The Rashis of Kanya and Mithuna usually are the most changeable ones because of the nature of the Lord of it, Buddha. And where the nature of the Rashi, where the Buddha goes, will have a very important consideration on this process as a whole. So it's going to be Vata, whatever. When we go to Tula, since Tula is governed by Shukra, and Shukra has a lot of watery element there, probably it's going to be some Vata Kapha, and depending somehow, it can take a little bit more of Vata, because Shukra is also a little bit of fancy guy. I usually say that the most beautiful, the most charmful people in the world are the Tula, Rashi, Lagna, Uday Lagna. Usually they are very beautiful. They are not the most Hollywood actors, like Brad Pitt and this kind of stuff. This usually goes to Simha Rashi, because they are very shiny. But in Tula, people get very elegant, because it has this Shukra quality of Tula also working there. In Aquarius, there is going to be Vata and Kapha. But because Kumbha is Stira, but since Shani is very airy, this can also bring pure Vata form. But please remember that where the Lord of the Rashi goes makes a lot of difference. If we have Kumbha, With Shani going to a fiery Rashi, this will make a lot of difference in terms of Pitta. If it goes to a fiery Rashi or fiery governed Rashis like Scorpio, Vrishika. If Shani goes to a very Vata place, then it's going to be a lot of Vata in the system. If Shani goes to a more Jala Tattva, there's going to be more Kapha going there because of the Guna of Stira that will provoke some Kapha there. And if Shani goes to the Prithvi Rashis, the Earth Rashis, then depends on those considerations that we have spoken before. So we have covered Pitta on Agni Tattva, Kapha on Jala Tattva, and Vata on Vayu Tattva. And about the Prithvi Tattva, we have spoken in the initial part of this second consideration. The third consideration, as I was saying about Shani, will make the same for everything, but most importantly, will create a lot of importance to the Vayu lords, like Shani, like Buddha, like Chandra, Saturn, Moon, and Mercury. You can consider a little bit that Shukra is also Vayu, but not so much in this sense. Because the grahas that are more of Vayu Tattva, they usually will get more the characteristics where it goes to. We are having classes with Sanjay today, and this characteristic is Yoga Vahi. It carries, it absorbs, it relates, and it takes a lot of the information of the characteristics where it goes. So, if you have like Jala Tattva Rashi in your ascendant, and you have a graha that is of the same nature, like in Jala Tattva we have mostly Chandra, but also Guru. It's also Kapha, so we have double Kapha. And if the Lord of the Ascendant goes to a place where it has this Tattva, this characteristic, then a lot of influence is going in the same direction. And probably this person will be Kapha. Like we have Chandra in Karka or in Mina. This, even if the chart is with the Karka Udaya Lagna and it goes to Mina, or it has Mina Udaya Lagna and Guru goes, if Guru goes to Karaka, this usually will make a lot of Kapha because Guru is Ucha, exalted in Karaka. But another important point, we have two exactly the same charts. We have Mina, Udaya Lagna, and we have Guru in Karaka. Okay? But if we have any kind of direct influence by presence or by drishti, by aspect to the ascendant or to the fifth house, this will make a lot of difference in the chart. For example, if we have these two charts, one we have like Kuja in the 10th house aspecting the Udaya Lagna in the 5th house. This, a lot of Kapha there will have a lot of, will receive a lot of Pitta influence, and this person with Mina Udaya Lagna and Guru in Karaka will have much more pitta than the other one that it has a shani in the lavabhava, in the 11th house, and it's dristing the dialagna, and it's creating much more dry guna aspect on the dialagna, but not so much. It will be also in the 5th house because it will have the 7th aspect on the 5th house. There are different effects from the 3rd aspect, the 7th aspect, and the 10th aspect of Shani in the houses, relating to the characteristics of these forces. In the same way, there is difference between the 4th aspect, the 7th aspect, and the 8th aspect of Puja, and the 5th, 7th, and 9th aspect of Guru. Although they are much of the same thing in the manner that it's coming from the same graha, the nature of the function that it's working, it's different between them, but this is not necessarily for us to go now. But for instance, we have usually the most important places for Shani to change the characteristics of the Prakritti of the person, in the sense that we are saying it's in the 11th house. For Kuja, it's in the 10th house, and for Guru, it's in the 1st, in the 5th, or in the 9th house, because of their full drishti aspects over the Lagna and over the 5th house, Putrabhava. Okay, here I'm considering, generally speaking, that the person with the ascendant in one tattva, 5th house in the same tattva. If you use the mid-soleil cusp as the 10th house, this can change if the person lives in not tropical areas, above the Capricorn and Cancer latitude. Usually this will only happen when the person is born over these latitudes, and it's depending if it's in the solstice or if it's in equinox, whatever. But here I'm not going on these considerations. I'm supposing, and this is a very important supposition, that the 5th house will be in the same tattva of the Lagna. If it's not, you have to consider. But the point is that we have the Lagna, we have the 5th house, we have the nature of the Rashi in relation to the Tattva, we have the nature of the Rashi in relation to the Chala, Stira, and Videsha aspects of that Rashi. All these create gunas, and these gunas are going to influence the chart of the person in a way that the person is kapha, but it has much more of the watery element of the kapha instead of the stira guna of the kapha. In Jyotish, we can look not in a sense that only vata, pitta, and kapha, but we can create a gradient where this person has more of this guna or less of this guna. If it's more stira or if it's more chala. If it's more shita or if it's more ushna. If it's more guru or if it's more lagu. We have those 10 pairs of attributes that with Jyotish we can make just fine tuning on these characteristics. And also it's important to see not only the drishtis as I was speaking, but also the placement in the ascendant or in the descendant, in the 1st house or in the 7th house. Because in the 1st house or in the 7th house, every graha, excepting Ketu, probably will be considered that it has drishti on the first house. But if it's Ketu in the 7th, Rahu will be in the 1st. So you already will have something there. If Ketu is in the 1st, Rahu will be the 7th, and we already will have Ketu there. Okay? So in Jyotish, Prakritti is much more complex assessment, in a sense that we are making the assessment in the gradient of the gunas and not only on Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. It's beautiful because with Jyotish, we can have a very deep understanding what means that Kapha Prakritti for that person, what means the Pitta Prakritti for that person, and whatever. And concerning the quality of the health of that person, it's very, very important to understand if the ascendant or the ascendant lord is afflicted. The ascendant or the ascendant lord will be afflicted if there is natural enemies of that lord in the ascendant. For example, if you have Karka Rashi in the ascendant and Rahu is there, probably this will not be very good for the health. Only if it's very nicely aspected, and only if there is good position of the, for example, if Chandra, it's in Vrishaba, if it's in Taurus, this will probably not be so problematic. But we have to make a lot of side considerations when we are speaking Jyotish. The answer is not so straightforward, generally speaking. And also we have to look about the yogas of two Krura Grahas hemming in the ascendant. For instance, if you have just like Tula Lagna, okay? And you have in the 2nd house Shani, and you have in the 12th house Rahu. Probably the health of this person, probably the Prakritti of this person will not be very good. Only if like Shukra is very, very, very strong to protect that area. And the same consideration that I'm speaking to the ascendant, we should consider for the Lord of the ascendant, we should consider for the 5th house, and we should consider for the Lord of the 5th house. It may seem a little bit complex, but once you go on and you start to do some Jyotish gym, it starts to work out. Okay, so this will help you to work in their Ayurveda assessment of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha Prakritti. But it probably will blow out this consideration. It will make a little bit too simplistic. When you start to study Jyotish, the Ayurveda consideration of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, it gets too simplistic in a sense, because there is so much things to consider on that chart. If the ascendant it's okay, if the ascendant lord's okay, if the 5th house okay, if the 5th lord it's okay, if there is Dristi, if the Dristi is from Mitra Graha, or if it's from a Shatru Graha, if it's from a friendly or inimical aspect, okay? So in this way, we have some general considerations about the concept of Prakritti in Jyotish. I hope you have understood a little bit of this video. If you don't study Ayurveda and Jyotish, probably this will be problematic to follow. But if you understand both of them, I hope you can do some comments in the video so we can talk. And if you want to do any kind of Ayurveda, Yoga, and Jyotish counseling, my Namaste coaching, please write to Tiago with double G, Namaste, at gmail.com, that I will be glad to send you more info about this kind of online counseling. And also, there are some playlists in the description where you can watch more free information. And please remember that consultations will be done through consultations, not through commentaries, but some posts about theoretical questions there, and personal assessment experience as a therapist or a counselor, that will be mostly welcome. Thanks again for watching, for sharing, and for hitting the like button. See you soon. Om Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Namaste.